My sister confessed her feelings for my husband on the day of her own wedding anniversary. If you think your life is complicated, let me tell you my story. And maybe, just maybe, you'll realize you're a bit luckier than you thought. My name is Elena, and I'm 26 years old. I live with my husband, Caleb, the man I love more than anything, and an old cat named Daisy. Everything should have been perfect. We have a small but cozy house, a sunlit garden where we grow tomatoes, and quiet evenings curled up on the couch watching old movies. I should have lived a normal life like any other lucky girl. But what I never expected was that the person who could hurt me the most would be the one I trusted the most. My sister, Ivy. Ivy is 3 years older than me. Ever since I was a child, I looked up to her as my role model. She was gentle, intelligent, and adored by everyone. She was the kind of person who turned heads just by walking into a room. And me? I was just her shadow. But I didn't mind. My mom used to say, "Ivy is golden. You should follow her example." And I did, copying her hairstyles, her choice in books, even her taste in music. We were close. There were nights I would lie next to her, listening as she told me stories about boys at school, dreams of studying abroad, and fears of marrying the wrong person. I used to think, if there's anyone in this world who truly deserves happiness, it's Ivy. We went to the same university. She was a senior, I was a freshman. She showed me around, introduced me to her friends, gave me advice on everything. Thanks to her, I met Caleb. He was in Ivy's close friend group, 2 years ahead of me. Tall, calm, smart, and effortlessly handsome. Caleb wasn't the typical bad boy type. On the contrary, he felt safe, warm, like a hug on a cold day. I liked him almost immediately, but I kept it to myself. I didn't want to disrupt the group's balance, especially since I didn't really know what kind of relationship he had with Ivy. They weren't particularly close, but they weren't strangers either. One time, during a group study session, I sat next to Caleb. I saw Ivy pass by. She glanced at us briefly and then quickly turned her head away. That was the first time I felt something in her gaze that made my heart tighten. Not jealousy. Something closer to a warning. As usual, I told her about my feelings for Caleb. She smiled, then said a sentence I'll never forget. "Don't get your hopes up, Lena. He's not the kind of guy who would go for a girl like you." I don't know what hurt more, that subtle insult or the look in her eyes when she said it. It didn't feel like advice. It felt possessive, quietly threatening. But I brushed it off, told myself I was just being too sensitive. A few months later, Caleb confessed his feelings to me. On my 21st birthday, I cried, from joy and from fear. Fear of losing the bond I had with my sister. I went to her, told her everything. I told her that if she felt uncomfortable, I'd walk away from the relationship. She hugged me tightly, whispered, "As long as you're happy." And I believed her. I believed in that hug. I believed that sisterhood was unshakable. But after that, things began to change. Slowly, silently, like a disease with no clear symptoms, creeping in deeper with each day. Ivy gradually pulled away from my life. She called less, asked less. Every time we met, she would still smile. But it was the kind of smile that barely curved her lips. I'd text her, and she'd reply with one-word answers. I'd invite her out for coffee, and she'd say she was busy. I told Caleb, "I don't think Ivy likes us being together." He sighed. "Maybe she's just not used to it yet. Don't overthink it." I wish I had believed him. But my heart knew. There was something between Ivy and Caleb. Something that had never been said out loud. And now it was boiling closer to the surface with every passing day. Things started slipping out of control the year I got engaged. Caleb proposed in the simplest way, kneeling on our living room floor on a cold evening, holding a small ring, eyes gleaming. "I can't imagine this life without you." I nodded, tears running down my face. I called Ivy immediately. She didn't pick up. When I shared the news with my family, my mom stayed silent. And Ivy, she cried. But it wasn't happy tears. I knew. I could feel it. That night, my mom pulled me aside in the kitchen, her voice low. You should have thought twice before saying that in front of your sister. I froze. Mom, what do you mean? I'm getting married. Can I share that with my sister? She didn't answer, just shook her head and walked away. At that moment, one thing was clear. I was about to marry the man I loved and lose the woman I had loved the most. After that day, I started seeing everything through a different lens. The photos of us, two smiling sisters hanging on the hallway wall, suddenly felt like they belonged to strangers. Ivy's gaze, her once loving gestures, now seemed cold, distant, calculated. We still talked, just surface level texts, empty congratulations. But even in those words, I could feel her absence, clear, heavy, and deliberate. I called. She said she was busy. I texted her updates about the wedding. She replied with a heart emoji. One evening, I caught Caleb staring at his phone with a troubled expression. When I asked, he hesitated. It's Ivy. She's been texting me. My heart skipped. I tried to keep my voice calm. What did she say? Caleb looked at me for a long time, as if he was weighing truth against silence. Then he handed me his phone. The first message was innocent. Are you free for coffee? I need to talk to someone. Then came the strange, ambiguous lines. Caleb, if you had chosen differently, everything would be different now. Do you ever wonder, if I had been the first, would Elena even exist in your life? Do you miss me? And then, a series of photos. Ivy, my sister, wearing tight-fitting dresses, posing in front of the mirror. Some deliberately off the shoulder, more revealing than necessary. I couldn't breathe. My hands trembled. Caleb quickly reached for me. I never responded. I didn't want to hurt you, but I thought, you should know. I sat there, motionless. No crying, no screaming, just empty. Ivy? My sister? The one who once hugged me and whispered, as long as you're happy? I opened our old conversations, messages where I gushed to her about Caleb, our dates, the proposal, the ring, and her replies were always dry, short. And I had convinced myself she was just busy. I remembered a dinner long ago when the whole family was gathered. My mom had suddenly looked at Ivy and sighed. Let the past go. Stop dwelling on things that were never meant to be yours. Ivy had just smiled faintly. Now I understood. Maybe Caleb wasn't someone who came after me. Maybe he was someone Ivy had wanted before me. I confronted her with everything. I didn't want to scream. I didn't want to cry. I just wanted to ask, why would you do this to me? Ivy looked at me, calm, without shame. Then she said the words that shattered me. Because you stole him from me first. You've always stolen everything from me. Mom and Dad's attention, everyone's admiration, and now, the man I loved most. I stood frozen. But you told me you didn't even like him. I said that to test you, to see if you'd stay loyal. But you betrayed me, from the start. I thought I had hit rock bottom. But no, rock bottom was when my mom entered the room, listened to the story, and said coldly, you shouldn't hurt your sister any more than you already have. I let out a bitter laugh. So, all of this is my fault now? I fall in love, and because he loves me back, I'm the traitor? My mom didn't respond. She just took Ivy's hand and walked away. I went back home and packed my things. Caleb held me for a long time. We can move somewhere else. Start over if that's what you want. I nodded. Not because I wanted to run away, but because I couldn't live in a family where love could be used as a weapon. We moved into a small apartment near the coast, a peaceful place, full of breeze, sunlight, the sound of waves, and Sunday mornings with coffee on the balcony. Caleb was everything I needed in this world. And for a while, I thought the past was behind us. But the truth is, pain doesn't just disappear because you change locations. It quietly follows you, like a shadow beneath your feet. Some nights I dreamt of Ivy, her eyes filled with resentment, turning away with Caleb beside her. I'd wake up in cold sweat. Caleb would hold me close, whispering that it was all over. But deep down, I knew it wasn't over. One day, Caleb called me into the room, his face heavy. He was holding his phone. Instagram again. You should see this. My hands trembled as I took it. It was a message request from Ivy's account sent exactly a week ago, the same week she got married. Caleb, I know I married the wrong person. I've never forgotten you. If you just say the word, I'll leave everything behind. I know you'd be happier with me, not Elena. I was stunned. I couldn't believe what I was reading. She sent this the week of her wedding? Caleb nodded. He said he hadn't opened it earlier. He'd seen her name and ignored it. He only noticed it today while clearing out his inbox. He had taken a screenshot and blocked her account immediately. I'm sorry you had to see this, but I needed to ask. Should I send this to Jim? I didn't know how to answer. Jim, her newlywed husband, was a good man. I didn't know how much he loved her, but I knew he didn't deserve this betrayal. But if we sent it, I'd be destroying her marriage.
I spiraled into an emotional panic. One part of me wanted to protect the truth. Another part felt like I was seeking revenge. I don't know. Maybe just leave it alone? Caleb looked at me for a long moment, then nodded silently. That day, I walked alone along the beach. The wind was harsh. My chest felt like it was being crushed. Who am I in this story? The wounded little sister? Or the villain who stole someone else's love? I started going to therapy more regularly. My therapist said, guilt doesn't always come from doing something wrong. Sometimes it comes from loving the right person at the wrong time and being emotionally manipulated because of it. 3 days later, my mother called. I didn't answer. Then my father called. He rarely called me since I moved out. I hesitated but picked up. Did you send Ivy's message to Jim? I froze. I didn't. Caleb got the message. I didn't send anything. Jim called your mother. He said he's calling off the marriage. Ivy's been crying all day. Your mother blames you. She says it's all your fault. I nearly screamed. Why not ask Ivy? Why not ask why she was in love with someone else on her wedding day? Why is it always my fault when someone else does something wrong? My dad stayed silent. All I wanted was for this to be over. And if breaking the silence can save Jim from a marriage built on lies, then no, I don't regret it. That night, Caleb admitted, I sent it. I couldn't let an innocent man be lied to. I didn't blame him. In fact, I felt relieved. I realized silence was just another way of prolonging pain. 2 days later, Ivy showed up at my door. No warning, no knocking. My mother was with her. I opened the door, phone in hand, ready for whatever was coming. I had anticipated this moment, but I didn't expect it to come so soon. You planned this all along, didn't you? Ivy hissed, her eyes red with fury. You've always been jealous of me. You knew I loved Caleb first, but you stole him anyway, and now you want to ruin my life? My mother stood silently behind her. Her face showed not a trace of love for me. I'm ashamed to have a daughter like you. I laughed, not from joy, but from exhaustion. Because after everything, I didn't feel hurt anymore. I didn't do anything. Ivy sent the message. Caleb doesn't love her. She married Jim, a man who truly loved her. But she still cheated. And now, when the truth is out, she blames me. I turned to my mother. Have you ever taken my side? Even once? Or do you only care about your perfect daughter? Then I closed the door. For the first time, I was the one who shut the door on my family. I knew they'd keep blaming me, keep spewing bitterness. But I wasn't going to stay and take it anymore. After Ivy and my mother left, I felt emptier than I'd ever felt before. Not angry, not even sad. Just hollow. A void stretching endlessly, swallowing every thought in my head. Caleb cooked, cleaned, and held me in his arms every night, as if he were afraid I would shatter the moment he let go. I didn't break, but I was no longer whole either. I sat down with my therapist, a woman with understanding eyes and a voice soft as background music. Elena, she said, you're grieving, but not all grief is an ending. Sometimes it's a chance to begin again, the right way. I cried, not out of sadness, but because someone finally understood. She didn't tell me to forgive. She didn't tell me to move on. She didn't say I needed to grow up. She just understood. I began journaling. Every night, I wrote down the things I couldn't say to anyone, not even Caleb. I still miss you today, but I'm not in pain anymore. I feel sorry that we were once so close. If only you had just told the truth. If only you hadn't turned love into a competition, hadn't turned me into an enemy. I've lost you, but I refuse to lose myself, too. One morning, I received a message from someone I didn't expect, Jim. Just one line. Thank you. I know everything now, and I'm grateful you chose the truth. My heart sank. I replied, I'm sorry for everything. You didn't deserve any of this. You deserve to be loved the right way. Jim never responded, but I knew. Sometimes a single message sent at the right time can save someone from a lifetime of feeling deceived. I sent a message to my dad. Just him, not my mom. I know you're stuck between the two of us, but I don't want one of us to win. I just wanted both of your daughters to live honestly, without lies, without pressure, without jealousy. But if that's too much to ask, then I choose to walk away. From now on, I choose my own life. I won't come back. He read it, didn't reply. I was used to that. Strangely, though, this time I didn't need a reply. That night, I told Caleb everything. He pulled me into his arms and said, You're stronger than you think, but you don't have to be strong alone anymore. We have each other. I leaned into his chest, listening to his heartbeat, steady and calm. 2 months later, I started working at a women's support center, helping those who had been abandoned, hurt, or emotionally manipulated by their own families. I shared my story, without hiding, without sugarcoating, and in the eyes of some listeners, I saw tears, especially when I told them how I chose to walk away from the people I once considered my whole world. One 18-year-old girl asked me, Do you regret it? Walking away, I smiled. Yes, but not because I left. I regret staying for too long. One day I came home early. I found Caleb sitting on the porch, rereading an old text, the one I sent him when we first met. Thank you for pulling me into the study group. I thought I'd be alone this whole year. He smiled when he saw me. Do you remember sending me this? I nodded. You had no idea. That message saved my life. That night, he held my hand and asked, We've been through enough of the past. Do you want to start over? I asked, Start from where? He looked at me, serious but gentle. From the place where you know you deserve to be loved. A year has passed since everything fell apart. I no longer speak to my mother. Ivy vanished from all social media. I heard she moved to another city, started a new job. Jim, the man she betrayed, filed for divorce after just 4 months of marriage. He never reached out to me again. I didn't expect him to. Everyone heals in their own way. I still live with Caleb in our little home by the sea. We're not perfect, but we're honest. Sometimes I still wake up in the middle of the night from nightmares. But unlike before, I no longer try to hold it all in. I've learned to embrace the pain as a part of me, not to deny it, not to fear it. I rewrote the story of my life, posted it on an anonymous forum, a place where people like me share wounds no one else sees, about families no one believes could be real. To my surprise, I received hundreds of responses. Some said their own sisters had sabotaged their relationships. Others shared how their mothers had abandoned them simply for not being the perfect child. I read them all. I cried. I replied to every single person. You are not alone. I used to think I was the only one, but I wasn't. We, the ones who survived emotional wounds inflicted by those closest to us. We are a silent community. One day, I was grocery shopping when a girl approached me. Are you Elena? I read your post. I went through something similar. Thank you for speaking up. I held her hand, and for the first time in my life, I realized I didn't survive just for myself. I survived so I could help others survive too. That fall, Caleb and I hosted a small picnic with close friends. In the laughter and golden sunlight, I felt like a child reborn. Only this time, I wasn't Ivy's little sister. I wasn't living under my mother's expectations. I wasn't the one who had to behave. I was just me. Before we packed up, one of our friends asked, "Do you think you'll ever forgive Ivy?" I smiled. Not today. Maybe not ever. Forgiveness isn't about whether someone deserves it. It's about whether you still want to carry them inside your heart. I loved her deeply, but I finally loved myself enough to walk away. That night, I sat by the window and wrote the final page in my journal for that year. I used to be the little sister who believed family love was eternal. But I've learned a painful truth. Not everyone connected by blood will love you honestly. And a more precious truth, you can create your own family, one built on kindness, loyalty, and real love. I closed the notebook. Caleb walked in and placed 2 cups of hot cocoa on the table. He looked at me with the same eyes he had on the first day, gentle, steady, and safe. I smiled. We have a family now, don't we? He nodded. Yes, a family we chose. If you've made it this far, thank you. Thank you for not turning away from a story that may seem small, but carries the weight of an entire journey. Maybe you've been like me, hurt by the ones you trusted most, blamed for loving the right way and forced to walk away, just to survive. But remember this, you are not alone. Here on her side of the story, we share these stories, from the perspective of women who may seem fragile on the outside, but who choose to rise, to love themselves, and to live truthfully. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope that somewhere within it, you found a piece of your own.